Greetings to everyone on YouTube. We're back with another video today, picking up where we left off in the muffler removal on the 1998 Blazer. And here's our rusted muffler. And again, we have that universal muffler we're using. So I'm going to start by cutting the flange off of the original muffler, and we will be making it work on the new muffler. And if you remember from the removal, I had trouble with the reciprocating saw under the Blazer, and I am here also due to the clearance, so I'm just going to use old school hacksaw and cut the flange off, because I do definitely need the flange. Without a doubt, it's not as fast as if it wouldn't have kept jamming the reciprocating saw, the hacksaw, but it's not doing a bad job either. Steady and patient, and it's, again, good times still exercise the manual tools instead of always power tools, and we're getting pretty close to the whole way through the flange. Also, it helps with like a hacksaw when you're working out from under a vehicle. It's not as bad as if you'd be trying to use it up under the vehicle where you're limited on clearance, but you're not, again, out here with plenty of room to work. Here is what we need for the next step is the flange. Again, this is going to be a recycled part off the old muffler. Now the rest of the muffler is nothing but scrap now. And here's our new muffler, again the universal fit, which I mentioned if you watched the muffler removal video. One, the direct fit was not available, and I wanted to fix this on the day I realized it was rusted through. And two, it was like half the money less in price, so we're going to make this universal muffler work, and I hope anybody else is doing the same. This video will help you. Okay, I am taking a few measurements here to make this adapter, and I found this scrap piece of pipe I had around, and it is like roughly 2 1/4 inch outside diameter, and this is, inside, and this is a 2 1/4 inch pipe would fit inside of this, which is what we need. So what we're going to do, that's going to go fit into the end of that flange, and this is a piece of pipe here that is 2 1/4 inch pipe, which is the size of the muffler. I'm just being sure, but it will fit inside, and we're going to go here and do some fabrication here soon, but making sure this will work. But I'm just test fitting, but that will fit inside the muffler on the side A, which is the inlet side. I will mention right now, if you're confused on what I just said, keep watching, it'll make sense. And number two, you're going to need a welder for this next step. If you don't have welder or access to a welder, then perhaps you would be better just go by the direct fit muffler. Now I'm taking a marker here and marking around this pipe how far I want it to sit into this piece that we're going to be welding to the flange, and you can see the mark I made around it. And we're going to soon step over here to the the bench vise, and do some grinding and get ready in preparation to weld. I have found using vice grips when you're working with like a piece of exhaust like this, it's not real long and you want to work on it in a bench vise, just using vice grips, gripping the vice grips on the piece and then clamping the vice grips in the bench vise, I have found it works handy, at least for myself. And here we're going to get ready to do some grinding. And again, first step to welding is always grinding, it seems. And here's a reason I like doing that too. Now I have to turn it to do more grinding. You can just undo the vice grips, temporarily unlatch them, get your piece loose, and then re-latch them in place. And here we're going to keep grinding around the circle. That's one thing I have in my advantage, the years of working on stuff and accumulating stuff. I have lots like this metal adapter here for this exhaust I had just laying around, but if you don't, parts store does have exhaust adapters that should be able to fix you up with what you need. And I'll put in the description what is the size you need on it. Well, you definitely need a 2¼ inch inside on one side. Okay, now we're going to take and grind this flange and get ready here. Then we'll say we get more preparation in order to weld. On the flange, I just clamped it directly in the bench vise since I had a flat area to clamp to on the flange itself. And also with it in the vice grips, the end would have been up in the air straight. It would have been trickier to grind than at this angle, which is not working bad. And here we're taking, turn it and do some more. Go the whole way around the circle. You must excuse me at times. I try to get the camera position to give the viewer the best view and try at times to take different shots, but there's times that basically you end up looking more at my arms and hands doing the work and the actual job getting accomplished. But again, I apologize for any inconvenience on that to anyone. Alright, with this ground, I'm going to just take and again just shove that end in where we're going to be welding. And just be sure it's all, I'm going to be, again, nice shiny metal when I get the welder going. And I think it does need ground back a little bit more. Didn't get it back far enough. It does make the welding process go easier with the rust completely removed. And now I'm going to take and turn it around and just finish grinding this rust off. It probably is a little overkill, but again, I want it to weld good. Mainly, and I'm sort of funny about that, it drives me nuts. I want the exhaust to seal good and don't want any exhaust leaks. So I do want to make sure when the welding time comes, it does do what it's supposed to and seals up properly. relate with again, not only the welding, and then when it comes time to, we'll be using clamps later, that everything fits good and tight, that the clamps will take and do their job also. Okay, now I'm going to turn it back around, and this piece we marked earlier, this is again why I did put the mark with the magic marker. I only want it to go in where I put the mark on it and get it situated. And we're going to take here, we're going to take and get a tack weld here so it doesn't move. On that, if I would have had a longer piece of pipe, I could have pushed it in the whole way into the adapter, but again, I was using scrap I had around and didn't feel like running to the parts store, and I found this also. So, and with the welding, it's in plenty far enough. It's not going to come apart, and I will be, after we get these tack welds, we will be welding around the whole seam. But before we do that, I'm going to take and get it tacked to the flange now. And I think you're starting to see where we're going with this. This flange will be again bolted where it was on the converter, where the pipe comes from, no matter however you want to look at it on the vehicle. Okay, give it a turn around and get another spot done. And this again, it'll soon start, this will hold together until we do the whole seam around. It's not going to come apart, that's for sure. It was a little tricky starting that. I took and held it just with my one hand while I used the MIG torch with the other. It was a little tricky, but I done it. Okay, and get a couple more spots here again tacked in. Good deal. Now I can clamp it in the bench vise and weld the rest of the way around the seam. This is a little bit easier to do now. It's not going anywhere while the welding takes place. And take note, in the completion of this, again, this adapter we're going to be making to use that universal muffler, there's two places you're welding, and before I take and turn it in the bench vise, I can do both spots before moving, turning it to the next spot. Okay, that's about as far as I can work there. Now we are on that subject, going to loosen the bench vise and give it a turn and do some more welding until we get around the whole circumference of the circle. And yes, I used the flux cord wire. You get the flux build up and take the wire brush and knock some of it loose to aid in getting the arc to start with the MIG torch. Perhaps it's overkill, but I like to show the whole process. I mean, I could have just welded this and showed you after it was done, but I like showing sort of the steps leading up to the whole process. I figure too much information is good. If it's a lot of stuff you find boring or don't want to interest you, I include timestamps. You can jump to a certain part, but on the other hand, if the extra information interests you, well, there's more to watch. I know I don't like when I'm trying to watch a video, this something that does not really explain the problem or lets a bunch of information out. So I try to, again, I learn from what I don't like. Okay, now clamp it back in place here and we'll do some more welding. But of course, and there it happens, MIG welding. I accidentally, the arc started it wrong and burnt the wire fast to the tip, but it wasn't real stuck. I didn't have to change the contact tip in the MIG torch on it, but it happens. Alright, and there's some more, and then we'll give you a close-up here on the other side, doing some more of the welding process. Take a time out here and clean some more of the flux off. This will also help on a bad start with the MIG torch to prevent the wire burning fast. This will help out quite a bit. And time here also turned some more, and we'll get some more. We'll soon be around the whole circumference of this adapter that we're making. The big key on welding successfully is listening to the welder. It should make a nice sizzling sound, like I always heard it should sound like bacon sizzling in a skillet. And if you take notice, and we're not going to, I'll be showing you how that'll work. This is not going to what we're doing right now. Once we're done welding around the seams here on this adapter that I'm making, the muffler, this is not going to be welded to the muffler. Now we'll show you how we're going to overcome that, and also down in the road, if you have to change the muffler and buy another universal muffler, will make changing it a lot simpler. However, at least in my case, I didn't actually, make the video itself till now. But I did this like 2 years before. It was sitting on my hard drive, this video clips, and I forgot about it and figured I'd make it. But the muffler still hasn't rusted through, and it's holding in good. And anyhow, there's the adapter, all welded, all the seams around. And we're soon going to just take here and be ready to put this back under the vehicle after we take and just grind these welds down a little bit, smooth it up, and make it. It's not really essential this step, but I'm going to do it. More than anything, it'll just make the weld seams look nicer. Of course, who really looks under the vehicle, but Again, I'll say it at times when I do oil changes and that. And if you see I'm using a flapper disc on the 4.5-inch angle grinder, and it's an 80 grit flapper disc, they do a nice job without really, like I say, gouging down into the metal like a regular metal disc. These are pretty nice. They're not the cheapest discs there for your grinder, but they do last a little while if you don't use it a lot. Take notice how nice that flapper disc does smooth the welds out and just shines the metal up. They do, again, I was impressed the first time I tried one of those a couple years ago how nice they work. And here I think there's a little bit more here to do. And if you look, you can see how the weld penetrated down through. I do see I missed a little spot there, which I didn't even notice that till making this movie, but it don't leak the exhaust as tight as can be. But that's sort of what you want on the back side of your weld. You should see like your grayish, sort of like with a blue tint spot, but you don't want to see like weld out the other side. That's too hot, but that's sort of the perfect look on the opposite side of your weld. Yeah, I turned my bench vise around to the side, made the whole pipes. And when I clamp this in, we got to take care of this. The flange itself where the old gasket was, get it cleaned up good. So it's ready to install again here in the very near future. I'm going to use my air needle scaler to get this loose flaky rust. If you don't have one of these, you can just take like a little hammer and chip at it to get the rust loose. But this wasn't a real expensive air tool. I want to say it was around $40. I bought it off of Amazon, and it does a nice job here if you watch. It's actually being stubborn, but finally that scaly rust is starting to break free. You can see it now. It was, like I say, didn't come off as easy as what I had actually planned it was going to. Once you get the loose flaky rust off of it there, it won't be too hard to just... Again, the big thing here is just so the exhaust seals and don't leak. Now I'm just going to run over with the little palm sander and just smooth it up, and this will be more than good for an exhaust seal. Okay, now it's time to climb under the vehicle and do the converter, the exhaust pipe side of this flange where it's going to be. There actually the tool made me look good on what I made the comment of. More of the gasket and rust was stuck on the other part of it instead of that flange. And there you can see how it's taking that old gasket right off. I am certain that is good enough, because there's also, I have a new gasket here, there's a gasket that goes in between this, and there it is, it's part number 31571, Walker part number. But before I put the gasket in, I'm going to coat this with this copper gasket sealant. I used the spray aerosol version, and I'm going to put some on the flange. Again, you can't use too much of this. It's something that, and once you spray this, it'll actually help hold the gasket in place too till you get the bolts in that end, and it does help seal. And I'm also going to put a coating of the sealant on the gasket itself before installation. Once that copper gasket adhesive starts to dry, it gets tacky, and that's where I was having trouble pulling my own fingers away from the gasket, but we got it. Now I'm going to just take and push that together, and here's a 3/8 inch bolt, 2-inch long one I believe I used, with a flat washer on the bolt head side, and then I'm going to put a lock washer here on the side with the nut. And again, of course, I'm using new nuts and bolts. If you watched the removal video, what was in it? Well, they had to be cut off. There's nothing left of them. And again, with putting new exhaust on, and no more than a couple bolts and nuts cost, it's not a big investment. It's a must-do to put the new hardware in. And also, I'm using the grade 8 hardened bolts there. I always do on vehicles. I don't personally even buy anything less than grade 8. I always buy them. A lot of times at Tractor Supply, they sell nuts and bolts by the pound and have them on hand, so I'm ready. But yeah, I never mess with the lesser grades. I mean, I'll admit, if you were like putting a picnic table or something together, the grade 1 bolts are great, but hardly I ever do such things as that. And now we're just going to tighten these up. And say, sort of work around and tighten one a little bit here, and go around a couple times until they're. You can take notice when you're tightening this, that copper coating will actually squish out a little bit if you look when it's tightened a little bit there. I mean, not like obvious like when you use that silicone adhesive, but you can see it when you're pretty much tight and it's making a good seal. It'll start squishing out the excess around the edges. Now on this, we're about complete. Due to the length of this video, I was going to make this, which I already did make the muffler removal video, but I'm going to do it here in 3 parts. We had the muffler removal, which is already posted. This is part 2 on getting to here, and wait for part 3, which will be here within the days ahead there, and we will get it all squared up, the complete process. And part 3 is going to be some modification on the tailpipe, putting the muffler back on, and getting it all clamped fast. Thank you for watching this, and again, I hope it helps somebody out. And remember, repair's cheaper than another vehicle in most cases, unless it's real serious. Just a thought.